All right, hello again, fellow travelers. It is I, Jim, with my credentials in social responsibility and sustainability, here to offer words of inspiration and guidance to help us work towards a brighter tomorrow for ourselves and our posterity. So I've been thinking really hard on what this week's episode would be. And so last time we talked about the lies that leftists give us. And I would kind of like to expand on it. Why do we fall for these? How could we fall for lies given to us by left-wing extremists, by communists and socialists, when the history of the entire 20th century tells us how bad and dangerous totalitarianism is, how bad giving a central bureaucracy all of our power is. But people still fall for it. Why would that be? Well, some people would start by saying, Jim, you have a master's degree in social responsibility. How much further left can it get? Very far. Social responsibility is our responsibility to each other. Part of the social contract that we have interacting with others. There's a very basic social contract in interpersonal interactions. If one person is talking to another person, they're having a conversation, there is a basic unwritten contract between them that you won't just randomly rob or kill them. At the very least, our social contract in living in society is that we contract to not cause harm to others. The basic fundamentals of a republic are that we don't just randomly beat up people who disagree with us. That's something that seems to be fading right now, as we can see in places like Portland, in the choppy Chaz in Seattle, Baltimore. Oh, we don't like what you say, so we're going to cancel you, or come and yell in front of your house, or confront you on the street and hit you with a bat. There's a breakdown in the fundamental social contract of living with other people. You have to not harm them, and they have to not harm you. So, why, given a century of seeing what strong central governments of totalitarianism and socialism do with bureaucracies that maintain all power, why, with a century of that history, does our society fail to learn from this? Well, it's because the lies are so smooth. Why do we have a overwhelming homeless problem in California, with fires all throughout LA County caused by homelessness, caused by homeless people? Some might want to argue, well, they're homeless, campfires get out of control. Okay, campfires? Really? Really? Campfires? There's a fundamental problem with the homelessness in California, specifically in Southern California. I mean, hey, honestly, I have said for decades, if a person has to be homeless, Southern California, Southern California, well, most of Florida really, are a couple of great places to do it because the weather is moderate enough that you don't have to worry about freezing to death. You can generally survive in that climate. Well, it looks like a lot of people have taken up that very idea and live in Southern California. Now, someone I heard recently commented that you shouldn't refer to them as homeless. That's a hurtful phrase. They are, what did she say? Unresidented citizens. Okay, way to church up the language. Would that be similar to someone saying that rather than calling themselves Caucasian, how about melanin-deprived individuals? Come on. I will concede, there is a difference between homeless and houseless. This is more readily seen in places like Hawaii. There is a huge homeless problem, according to popular culture media and the government, state and federal, that there is a homeless problem in Hawaii. And to a degree, that is true. There is a problem. However, there is also a percentage of that population that, while they may not live in traditional houses as we in Western, well, honestly, really the majority of the world think of, they do live in a Polynesian cultural concept that the island is their home. Therefore, a single thatched dwelling, a single house, apartment, whatever, actually is not as traditional a part of the culture. Well, I wouldn't mind living in a super cool pastoral communal lifestyle of, hey, I can live on a tropical island and go fishing, work a little plot of land, and not have to worry about a house because I can sleep under the stars. Just kind of like make a thatched roof shack to get out of the rain on occasion. Yeah. Okay, guess what? That doesn't work today. Well, there are people in Hawaii who actually live in a vaguely similar manner. Granted, it'll be something more like a van down by the beach. And they will spend the day going to work, whatever work might be for them. And then go chill on the beach, surf, relax, cook a little dinner on a campfire, and spend time just hanging out with their family. And they're actually okay with that. That is not what you will find if you go to downtown Honolulu. Off of Waikiki Beach, there are homeless people who are quite factually the traditional concept of homeless. And they range in ethnicity all across. And they range from being homeless for a number of reasons. Everything from the traditional stereotypes, I should say, of addiction, alcoholism, mental health issues, and just financial hardship that spiraled out of control. There are all of those things that we normally think of, and they are in the region where tourists might see them, where businessmen see them, where state government officials see them. The former, the island people who live the island, you don't find them living there. You find them living out in Waianae, living upon the North Shore. Some beautiful places, I might add. And they tend to be pretty friendly if you're not being a complete, elitist. And you see, that feeds back to the idea. If you're being those elitists who think, oh, well, homeless people are just, they need somebody to take care of. Well, that's not untrue in a way. They do need help. What kind of help they need is very dependent, because it depends on the individual at hand. In Olympia, Washington, you can find young people who are homeless, living in homeless camps. It's like, wait a minute, you have a tent in a camp, so you have an address with a shelter, so technically you would have a home, but they're homeless because it's not a traditional house that people would ordinarily think of. But you'll find some young people who live in those kind of homeless environments because they argue that no one has the right to expect them to pay for the basic right of living. Okay, that's not untrue. People have a right to live. That's not untrue. So what happens is you have these socialist types who come in and say, yeah, you have a right to live. You have a right to food then. Well, therein lies the catch. They're not wrong, but they're wrong. You have a requirement to eat. You have a right to live. But that doesn't mean that you have a right to anyone else's efforts or work, as we discussed last time. And probably the time before that. So, why do people fall for it? Well, because everybody gets tired. Everybody gets tired. You go to work. There's this mythical ideal that if you find a way to make money that you enjoy, that you will never work a day in your life and always have enough money. Okay, that's nice in theory. It really is. It's a beautiful idea. If you're doing something that you enjoy, having fun, having a great time, doing something you enjoy, then you're never tired of doing it. And if you can make money doing that, then you're just doing great. Well, the problem is most people don't have that. What do people want to do to live? And see, sometimes it's not even the leftists that advertise these things. In an episode of Star Trek, Next Generation, Captain Picard is talking to a person who was unfrozen from the 20th century, and the guy's like, oh, I made smart investments back in the 20th century before I had myself frozen, so I'm sure that I have enough money to buy and sell 18 ships like this. And Captain Picard looks at him and says something to the effect of, yeah, no, we changed the monetary system. Money is no longer a part of the equation. People work for the good of society, doing what they want to do to better themselves as individuals. Okay, what happens when your idea of bettering yourself involves playing video games and eating pizza rolls that your mommy brings you? There are many teenagers in America whose idea of an enjoyable, I wish I could do this lifestyle is sitting in front of a TV, having their parents bring them microwave pizza rolls. That in no way benefits society. That is a consumer who consumes without ever contributing. And some would want to argue back, well, of course they contribute because they have to pay for the pizza rolls. No, the parent has to pay for the pizza rolls. The person who lives in a basement, Twitter trolls all day and mommy brings them pizza doesn't contribute anything. And the idea that, well, you just mentioned Twitter, so they're contributing to the discussion. Okay, trolls don't contribute. Trolls create problems. They say nasty things about people. Or as Daisy Cousins said in her live stream this week, make rapey comments about people they don't agree with. I'm like, wow, that's just, people who make comments like that should have their IP address tracked, which honestly, the internet does that anyway. People like Jeff Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Zucker, those people have actual businesses that track where people are. They don't intend to, and they will make comments. They have made comments during congressional inquiry saying, oh, well, I wasn't aware that it tracks the user even when they have their location turned off. According to this memo, you do. I'm sorry, Senator, I don't remember writing that memo. People who make the overt threat need to be investigated. Why? Because that's where we get the people who commit the crimes. Same thing with what is called a SHARP violation. SHARP is a government program called Sexual Harassment, Assault with, Prevention. And one of the basic things is the sexual harassment, the inappropriate comments, test the boundaries of the individual until the predator finds out how far they can go until they can actually accomplish the assault. Same thing applies. A person who makes violent threats verbally is the kind of person who eventually, or let's reverse that. People who actually commit the violent actions talked about it prior. It didn't their violent actions didn't spontaneously occur. They grew from comments. Making one random, like, oh man, whatever, is one thing. But a historic trend of violent comments can indicate that a person is more likely to commit a thing. And most likely, the people who do that, as we've seen from the American news, the people who commit these mass shootings, mass stabbings, they needed mental help beforehand. And people will say, oh, well, Jim, you're making excuses for those because it's always the white guy who does the mass shooting. Well, that's not true. It may appear that it is more common. But there's a difference between the mentally unstable and the basic criminal. A gang member shoots up another gang member because that is, at its most basic business front, elimination of competition. And all of those feed to people get tired and they want someone to help. Somebody please do something. And then leftists, socialists come along and say, let mommy government take care of you. That's how insidious it is, and that's how they slink along. That's what you have to watch out for. Just because you're tired doesn't mean that it's time to let somebody else take over. If you're tired, ask for help. But if somebody offers help before you're ever tired, Question why they're giving it. Very few government organizations are altruistic. Actually, very few people are altruistic. Government agencies are never altruistic. There's no such thing as an agency that says, help me put myself out of business. Welfare departments don't want to get people off of welfare because then they won't have jobs. The fact is, yeah, they would probably still have a job anyway, because just because person A stops needing help doesn't mean that person B isn't going to suddenly show up. Because humans keep breeding, therefore new problems come. But you're not going to find a bureaucrat who wants to risk getting their department shut down because they fixed the problem. All right. Y'all have a great week. Talk to you next time.